All the readings have this in common: humility. The prophet Zephaniah starts us off. Seek the Lord, all you humble of the land, who do his commandments. Seek righteousness, seek humility. And then we have, for I will leave in the midst of you a people humble and lowly. They shall seek refuge in the name of the Lord. So this sort of brings up a question to me. Why does God value humility? Is it because he enjoys keeping us crushed down to the earth? No. That's not why at all. He values humility because it's part of his own character. Who is Jesus Christ if he's not the humility of God? Yes, humility is a divine quality. And the point is easy to keep in mind today. Be a look at Jesus type person. Be a look at Jesus type person. Now, humility is not in vogue in our culture. We are a look at me culture. Humility? What's that? Well, it must be an antiquated concept designed to oppress the human spirit. That's probably what a lot of people think. And the new virtue is this: freedom of self-expression. Take pride in what you are, whatever you may be. The media is a virtual parade of people showing off and saying, "Look at me." Think about this. With Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, and digital imaging that is instantaneous, we have a whole look at me movement that has swept over the whole world. We are obsessed with ourselves. I did some research. I looked up the word selfie. Do you know that it was the 2013 Webster's New Word of the Year? Before 2013, no one was using the word selfie. And do you know where it started? It started in Australia. There was this guy in a bar celebrating his 21st birthday, roaring drunk. He picked up his cell phone, took a picture of himself, and he said, "This is a selfie." And it spread all over the world. Wow. Look at me. Oh, I think I'm in the mood for a selfie. Well, in our Corinthian church we've been reading about lately, they were a look at me culture. The result was division and party spirit. How could it be anything else if everybody wants, look at me, look at me, look at me, you know, right? And you know, I love this, the Apostle Paul. He says, okay, look at me. Okay, I'm going to shed a spotlight on you to see what you really are, okay? The spotlight of truth. And do you know what he said? I mean, when's the last time you had a priest just really level with you on this whole thing? Like the Apostle Paul did. He looked among his people and he said, look at you. Not too many of you are smart. Not too many of you are powerful. Not too many of you are noble. And I think that if the Apostle Paul can say it to his people, I can say it to you. Look among you. How many of you are really all that intelligent, right? How many of you are really all that powerful? How many of you people are from the House of Windsor in royal blood? Anyone? No? No Downton Abbey type folks here? No? No? No, I mean, it's true. We're all so very ordinary, right? Even foolish. He says, God chooses the foolish people. And by the way, when I'm looking at you, I'm looking at myself. I just loved just telling a string of stories about myself, of all the foolish things I said and did. I mean, in religion. And the Apostle Paul says, God chooses the foolish people, the ordinary people, so as to teach a lesson to all the big shots in the world that it's really God working through us. That is where we really want to get, right? He would have us to be a look at Jesus people. Look at me people are never very happy. Why? Because they exist in the minds of others. They get their sense of well-being. It depends on if anybody is looking at them or not. That's a difficult place to be, isn't it? But to look at Jesus, people are always happy. Why? They're free from having to be looked at. Their sense of well-being comes from God. And this leads us to the gospel today. Jesus teaches us, blessed are the poor in spirit. What's poor in spirit? Those who really know that they're really not big stuff at all. As a matter of fact, the poor in spirit really don't think they're very spiritual. And what happens there is that then they progressed to the next beatitude, which is, blessed are those who mourn. Why? Because they just know that they don't love God as much as they should and serve Him as well. We don't have time to go through all the Beatitudes, but the point is this. There's a paradox in being poor in spirit. On one hand, it's the truth. And when the spotlight of truth shines on us, it can be painful, right? But on the other hand, it's a beautiful thing, because when truth floods the soul and fills it with light, there's joy. Therefore, we become blessed. And you know something? We end up showing off what we love. Do you ever think about that? If you are look at me person, what are you always talking about? Me. Or whatever it is that we love. We say, look at this. But if we're in love with Jesus, what do? We're a look at Jesus type people. Yes. And to be a look at Jesus type person is to enter into the divine joy of the Holy Trinity. Study the Gospels closely. When we hear about the Holy Spirit, what is the Holy Spirit always doing? He's saying, look at Jesus. Matter of fact, we couldn't even understand Jesus if it wasn't the Holy Spirit in our lives. And whenever you look at Jesus, what is Jesus saying? Oh, look at the Father. And when you look at the Father, what's the Father saying all the time? Behold, this is my beloved Son. You see the joy of the Trinity? It actually is bound by this joy of look. Look. But don't look at me. Well, one of my favorite stories comes out of my Baptist past. There was an American that visited the great pulpits in London at the end of the 19th century, and he went and heard a great preacher there called Joseph Parker. He's a Congregationalist, and When he heard him preach, he said, wow, what a great preacher this man is. That evening, he went to what was called the Metropolitan Tabernacle, where Charles Haddon Spurgeon preached. He heard him preach. And do you know what he said? My, what a great God this man has. You see the difference? Yeah. Huge difference between the two. You see, Charles Haddon Spurgeon learned the trick of getting out of the way and looking at Jesus. Now, I want to tell you something very simple. How do we get to be a look at Jesus person? Where people see you and say, wow, what a great God this person has. This person's full of Jesus. How do we get to be that type of person? It's so simple that it's easy to miss. What do? Just look at Jesus. That's all you do. Is just look at Jesus. In every which way you can.